Hey, it's your boy, Dustin from the Flying Chair. It's the Rise Podcast. And with my sexy co host, Chrissy. And, and we're going to have fun today because I got an awesome special guest that I wanted to have on here for the longest time since I met this guy, Jeff from the Badgerland Legends. And this dude is super dope and super knowledgeable about Wisconsin's cryptics, UFOs, paranormal, and just plain old history that Wisconsin has. We may have so much. I think we have a lot of ancient history here too, like from the ancient mounds here to rocks or even monoliths and I think pyramids on the bottom of lakes and shit. So yes, Jeff, tell me where you grew up and how you got into the field.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Dustin. Name's Jeff Finup. I do Badgerland Legends. I grew up in the central part of Wisconsin. So right now I reside in Madison, so about 90 minutes straight north of Madison. Kind of a spooky little town, only about 15, 20 minutes from Ed Gein and where he did his abominations.
Yes.
So kind of grew up with some of that lore. There was a haunted house in the neighborhood, all kinds of legends and stuff. Even a family legend that my mom told me about her father, my grandfather, about a spooky haunted house not too far from where he grew up. So always had kind of a spooky kind of uh, kind of growing up. Everything was kind of ghosts and UFOs and lake monsters. It was the late 80s. There was a lot of programming on TV and just really dove into it. And then in recent years, really dove down the rabbit hole of everything that is kind of spooky about Wisconsin. I think we'll get into some of that stuff tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that's so awesome. And I kind of found myself in the same boat when I was growing up. I was finding myself in the library, heading straight to like the UFO books and like the ghost and the picture books, like this, the ones that the early Bigfoot sightings too. It was just like blown away that we had this in our library.
Yeah,
And then
and
that
I went
fact,
to a Catholic school library,
oh, did
and
you?
and, and they had the same thing. Yeah, they had
Oh, it's
kind of
awesome.
a paranormal section, and I was like, all right, I know what my jam is.
Yeah. No, it's
Jeff, I
just fun.
can see that you're a connoisseur of weird Wisconsin, which I love. And as I was saying earlier, I am blown away by Wisconsin, the UFO stuff, just the paranormal in general. There are so many haunted locations, which I'm excited about. I'm a ghost girl myself,
Nice, me too.
paranormal investigator, which you're kind of a jack of all trades. I didn't realize how educated you are in all fields, paranormal. If I were to visit, do you have any advice on what kind of haunted locations are? Um,
Haunted locations, yeah, we
yeah.
we have a ton. Depending on what you do. I know the Sheboygan Asylum on the lake on the shores of Lake Michigan, super
Oh,
haunted. A very dedicated team handles that. They do great tours. Kind of let you investigate. They have their guides that kind of show you around, and you can get to walk around this old mental asylum and
oh,
kind of take in the ambiance and see if you can get some ghosts to respond. The first time I went with my wife, and we did an evening there, and we had a very dedicated couple who's now actually joined or created their own paranormal team and went into business at their own haunted location not too far called Jericho Trinity, which is a church, a school, and a convent. So they've been doing that too, and that's right in the area. So definitely on the shores of Lake Michigan, stretching down to Milwaukee. There's a few haunted places here in Madison that me and Dustin could point you out, and um, no shortage of ghosts in the Badgerland. That's for certain.
Right, that's what I've heard. And also, I was blown away by the amount of lake monsters you have there. There's a ridiculous amount of lakes with rumors of some sort of a beast that lives in the lake. And there's Devil's Lake.
Devil's Lake, yes.
Um, and in one of the podcasts you were talking about how any location with the name Devil in it, generally there tend to be cryptids in that area for whatever reason. Um,
Yeah, That specific area you're talking about is Devil's Lake State Park. It's
Yeah.
Wisconsin's most frequented state park. So a lot of people come there, and as soon as you enter the park, you'll understand why. You drive down this winding road into this beautiful little cavern with this small lake. It's a no-wake lake, and then there's two beaches, and then there's surrounded by bluffs. So it's great for people who are into hiking, and the trails are not too technical, so it's great for families, great for picnics. But along with that serene landscape come a lot of legends. Now, one of the first legends I heard as a kid, and you know how kids would be out on the school ground and passing around different ghost stories or legends, was that Devil's Lake was actually bottomless. It was a bottomless pit. Well,
Hmm.
come to find out in the modern day of the internet, you can quickly search. It's only about 65 feet deep, which isn't too deep for any freshwater lake. That's probably any lake in Wisconsin. That's probably, a shallower lake. But there are many legends of a lake monster that lives in that lake. 64-foot lake. It doesn't have much place to hide, but the legends they stretch back to the Indians that first inhabited the lake and then have been seen as recently as the 70s when an actual group of magicians from Chicago came up there and cast their own spells to try to bring something through a veil or a portal there
Oh
at
shit.
Devil's Lake. And of course, for Dustin, there are UFO sightings at the lake.
Yeah.
There's stories of ghost elephants because the Ringling Brothers,
Oh
Barnum and
yeah.
Bailey Circus, they
Yeah.
had they had an encampment right on that lake. So
Oh, I
people
didn't
said,
know.
"Oh, they had their elephants there, and now there's ghost elephants." Well, I haven't seen a ghost elephant, but I'm not sure if I want to experience that.
No.
But a ghost Indian riding his canoe or paddling his canoe across a moonlit lake. Um, it's never ending. And then in 2020, there was actually a tragedy there where
Yeah.
a hiker was there and he was just having either a trail run or hike and was actually stabbed to death. And that unfortunately has not been solved. And that is Wisconsin's most frequented state park. It was a beautiful October day in 2020, and there's plenty of people around. But
I do.
go ahead, Dustin.
No, I was gonna say I do remember that, and I think was it like 666 written in blood and shit there too.
I don't know about that. I guess I haven't really dove into the crime scene stuff, but apparently, yeah, he was brutally stabbed,
Yeah,
and
I remember that though.
the perpetrator got away,
Yeah,
and
it's fucking gnarly.
yeah, to think that that can still happen today in something, a place that is as supreme, pristine and well frequented as Devil's Lake is quite astonishing and quite tragic, really, for the family that was involved in that.
Yeah, no, that's crazy, man. And the other lake monster that I know of is at Rock Lake at Lake Mills. They talk about
Yeah,
Rocky, the lake monster.
Rocky.
Oh, I've
So
heard
go.
about that one. Yeah, tell me more about that.
Yeah, so there's a guy named Frank Joseph who wrote two books about the pyramids on the bottom of Rock Lake. And he also talks about this lake monster in there too that has been seen there. Again, could be going through a portal because that's not a very deep lake itself. It's very, very murky. And the pyramids are like sinking, I think, daily because of the weight and this the murky water itself. When the
Mhm.
first settlers came here, they actually were poking out of the water and they're asking the natives what they were, and they were saying that they were the stone teepees of the ancient ones that they didn't really know much about because it's underwater. But you gotta
Yeah,
think too, like was it around before the glaciers? Because and then we have monoliths and Stonehenge on the bottom of Lake Michigan
yeah,
with
yeah. I was just reading an article about that the other day,
yeah, they
but
have um, mammoths carved in rock on it and shit. And yeah, dude, so it makes you wonder, like, what was really going on? And then, like, I feel like Wisconsin is one of the last states to have the glacier, totally disappear, right?
yeah, yeah. It was one of the last, one of the most northern states to have the glacier recede. So the interesting thing about Rock Lake is it's only 2 miles from one of Wisconsin's most important heritage sites, and that's Astalon. So it's really Wisconsin's first city, and it was made up of a Mississippi mound builder um, culture that actually lived there, and you can still visit it today. It's also a state park, and you can walk the grounds. Yep, thanks for pulling up the picture there, and climb up to the top of the step mounds
They're
and kind of
gigantic.
yep, and the stockades are they've been recreated with more modern logs to kind of show how that they said they were used to either herd animals or to try to trap game in there um, for hunting. So it's a really cool place. There are a lot of prominent burials there. It's kind of spooky there at night. I know you walk on a nice day, you walk up on the mounds, you look around, but then there's an area down by the river there. You kind of see it in the background of this photo that Dustin has up. Um, and it takes on a little different feel to it down there, and you're like, okay, there's got to be something there. So that is on one of my bucket lists to be able to kind of do a little paranormal investigation maybe at sunset there. I think it would be really cool to kind of see if there was some of those old spirits still
Yeah, you
roaming the
think it's
grounds.
haunted?
I have an inkling. I know of several people who have relayed stories to me about either catching weird anomalies on their camera when just taking regular photos, right while visiting the park, and then other people having some kind of mystical experiences, whether it's seeing mists or just getting strange feelings, or hearing voices down by the river that are pretty intriguing.
I would
Yeah.
love to do it.
Yeah.
Another place I like to go visit is the
The
Man
man
Mound.
mount.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And I love this because in my eyes, it's very astronaut like. And even there's the plaque there that the natives were depicting a powerful god. And it's like you wonder what powerful god that looks like this. And the fact that the people are trying to entice this thing to come back. And there were four other man mounds that got destroyed before this was the last one. And it almost got destroyed to see his legs got chopped off in the
Yeah.
1920s there when they're making
Yep.
roads and shit.
Yeah.
But no, it's amazing, right? Like
Yeah, it's quite yeah, that particular one I've been to, and that's also in Baraboo. That's only a few minutes from Devil's Lake as well.
mhm.
So you can kind of do, if you want to do a road trip, you can see Astalon, you can go up to Baraboo to Devil's Lake, you can go to Man Mount and really get your fill in a short period of time. The interesting thing about Man Mound, as you said, Dustin, it is the only anthropomorphic, so the one in an effigy mound depicting a man left in North America. And like you said, I think four others were destroyed. And I think Wisconsin was the only place in the world to have
Mhm.
these effigy mounds shaped like men. Now, Madison in particular, it was like Mound Central, and there are so many, hiding in neighborhoods in local parks that people don't even know about.
They're still
Um,
discovering them.
yep,
Yep.
and most of them they just depict regular woodland creatures or thunderbirds from lore. Some maybe even the
I think
aquatic
that I
lake
think
panthers.
Devil's Lake has their
Yeah, Devil's.
Thunderbird mound there.
Yeah, so if you want to pull the picture of that one, the bird mound at Devil's Lake, they call it on the sign a split tail hawk, but it almost looks like a winged humanoid, which is really cool, considering that is only within probably 3 or 4 miles as the crow flies to the man mound. So could they be perhaps pointing to some kind of deity or winged humanoid that they saw and kind of paying homage to that in their earthworks.
Yes. No, you're right, dude. I can't find it right now. No, yeah, dude. There's this. There's so many other spots. You ever go to Dundee Mountain
I have not been to Dundee Mountain.
Oh, you should
That has been
check
on
that
my
out.
bucket list. And at the start of the show, we were talking about the Sheboygan Asylum. It's not too far from there. It's just I haven't made that detour over to, and unfortunately, Benson's Hideaway, one of
Oh, you
our
haven't been there yet
UFO
either?
state capitals. It's since closed.
Oh, dude,
Mr. Benson died in 2021, I believe, and they had like a celebration of life there, and that was kind of the last UFO days for Dundee, unfortunately. But
yeah,
I hope that somebody can take over the spot. I know they still have a boat landing there that they service, but as far as yeah, Benson's Hideaway, it sounds like it is closed for now.
yeah. No, I was very, very fortunate to um, meet him, and he actually showed me his
Yep,
photographs.
there he is.
He's so nice. And his bar was so awesome because when you walked in it, it was like the X-Files. Like had that feeling because everything was alien everything. It was like
You
old
look
newspaper
sweet.
clippings. Yeah, he's very enthusiastic. He had his own photo album that he was taking photographs over Long Lake where his boat where the bar was located.
Yeah, so I know
Um,
you're a ghost girl, Chrissy.
Yes.
So if you watch the Destination Fear, the original series that aired on Travel Channel, they did an episode at the Sheboygan Asylum, and
Oh,
on their way they stopped at Benson's Hideaway while it
oh,
was still
cool.
open,
oh,
and
nice.
got to sit in the big alien Adirondack and had the big alien. It was quite the spectacle, and
Oh, that's
it's
amazing.
unfortunate I never got to make it out there before
Yeah.
Mr. Benson passed away, and they eventually shuttered the location. But it definitely will live on in Wisconsin weird lore
Oh yeah, it will
forever. Yeah,
always, yeah, always be talked about.
Weird lore in
yeah.
Wisconsin. And even, I was reading that most of the Wendigo sightings are the Northeast America, and
Hmm.
really Wisconsin is a hot spot for Wendigos also, which is insane. Have you ever known anyone who's seen a Wendigo? They're described as like very tall, very skinny white things with red
Yes,
eyes, right?
skeletal creatures. A lot of times
Skeletal,
they're
very
depicted
thin.
with with deer heads with antlers.
Oh yeah.
I haven't, but my good friend Chad Lewis, he actually wrote the book on Wendigo lore along with his friend Kevin Nelson. And they did a lot of research. A lot of they kind of put boots on the grounds and went to northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, up by the Boundary Waters. They actually went to a place called Wendigo Lake up in um, up in northern Minnesota. And it's interesting because it's a lake within a lake. So there is a lake and then there's an island and then there's a lake within that island. And they went there in the middle of winter. And now we are in February in Wisconsin, and we're not even supposed to say the W word. A lot of people of that
Yeah,
native culture, they don't like to attract attention. But they think
taboo.
by saying the name, they could conjure
Calls
this.
them into presence. Yeah,
Yes.
I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting. And it's Algonquin, right? Initially,
It's Algonquin.
it was
So
Algonquin.
yeah, so that would have been a lot of the tribes from the Northeast, kind of in your neck of the woods, that
Yeah.
have made their way into the Plain State, and they brought that lore with them. And yeah, that was one of the prevailing narratives was of the Wendigo, and kind of not wanting to get trapped out, especially at nightfall, and having this
Yeah.
hungry cannibal giant come track you down and eat you. So they said that the the one way to kill it would be to splash it with boiling hot beef tallow. So a lot of tribes actually kept a pot of tallow on their stove and warm just in case they had an encounter with the Wendigo. So if you want to learn more about that, I highly recommend picking up Wendigo lore from Chad Lewis and Kevin Nelson and Noah Voss, who put that all together. And it's a really interesting read. And the one thing that Chad says about that, he says, I have never done a book where I feel like I know less about the subject after writing it because seeing it's coming from a different culture than our own, kind of our Western culture, and as a white man trying to absorb that and retell the tale, he thought he could do as much as he could with it, but just didn't feel like he could really do the subject justice.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's very difficult to find Algonquin information about the Wendigo. And I think it's also because it's so taboo that they don't really talk about it. They
Yeah,
certainly don't talk about it to us,
to
and
outsiders
to
especially. That's kind
outsiders.
of
Yeah.
the some of the roadblocks that he hit was just trying to get the true. And he says that he went to a speaking engagement, and one of the elders told him if he could, refrain from saying that or talking about that, we would appreciate that. So,
Wow.
it's something that they take very seriously, along with a lot of their lore and their traditions. So he respectfully met their wishes.
Wow.
And it sounds like initially in the Algonquin culture, it was a story of greed and cannibalism and gluttony.
Hmm.
And when the English settlers came in, it kind of mixed a little with Western culture and it became a different thing, where it's this creature who's walking around, and we have this image of this tall, lanky, but there are people who have reported seeing this creature who's super fast, apparently. I heard a story about a couple of cops who they said this very tall, skinny thing was like chasing their car almost as fast as their car, so
I trip out.
people have
Yeah,
seen
that's
this
Oh my
intense.
actual
God.
image
Well,
of this tall, lanky thing.
I think there's even stories of people being possessed by this, being inhabited by this Wendigo type spirit too, and kind of resorting to cannibalism. So maybe it's like a cautionary tale that even as lean as the times could be, especially living a subsistence lifestyle in the north woods of Wisconsin or Minnesota, to not resort to eating your family members. I think that definitely probably informed a lot of the retellings of this stuff. But it seems like they believe this was a very real creature or very real possession that they could be put under.
That's
And
interesting. Yeah, I
you,
thought of the Wendigo as basically a cautionary tale about if you are out in the woods and you're very hungry, don't resort to cannibalism.
Yeah.
Was the gist of what I got from it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I know the natives too. I don't know if this is in Wisconsin in particular, but I just know it's in the United States. Is the pugwedgie? It's another creature
Uh,
that could be, I don't know, interdimensional itself, or it's just runs around the side of Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying? I have no idea. Do you know much about the pugwedgie?
From what I found is the Pukwudgies are not native to Wisconsin. They are more of a northeastern
Yeah.
thing. From
Okay.
what I know, and I'll plead ignorance on most of this, but they're
Hmm.
mischievous little gnomes or elves that uh, pretty much like trickster entities, and those might be in Algonquin lore as well. I'd have to look deeper into that, but I know there's a lady by the name of Susie Bastille that she dives deep into the Pukwudgie lore, and I believe she's in like the Rhode Island area up in New England.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because it's just that's another one. I just when you guys were just talking about that creature, it just kind of reminded me of the pug wedgie. I know just being smaller, not like a
Yeah.
huge,
yeah.
skinny creature, but just mysterious and mischievous. Doing shit. And then there's like I don't know if you know much about Iceland. I always gotta talk about Iceland. When I found out about Iceland, I blew my motherfucking mind.
I know nothing about Iceland, so
Oh, let me
I'm all ears to
let
hear
me
about that.
nah, man, check this out. This is shit. I had this woman on my show, and she was born and raised in Iceland, and she, her family and her country talk about the elves that live side by side with them in this, like on the outskirts of Iceland, interdimensional, and they take it so seriously. The government takes it so seriously where they won't make roads or move certain rocks or any rocks at that matter unless they got the permission from the elves. I don't know if like someone writes a note on the bottle and throws it near the, like how that goes.
Yeah.
And
How does
but
an elf give consent?
they do. They answer back apparently because people who like disobey, not asking the elves first,
Mhm.
like people have died, people have gotten
Mhm.
sick, machinery would break down, and rocks would be moved back to where they where they were, stuff like that. And they even like tell people who come to Iceland, don't throw rocks
Yeah, I
because you
believe
might.
uh it was an old Josh Gates program. I can't remember which one,
Mhm.
but he did an expedition to Iceland to look into this further. And yeah, he talked to people, and they said, yeah, like you said, they rerouted roads around these fairy mounds or
Yeah, fairy
elf
mounds. Yeah,
mounds or
the,
whatever these
they call
structures
it
were.
church. They're like some of them like in shapes of pyramids, like
Yeah.
rocks that are formed like pyramids. And then they have but yeah, they said if you throw rocks, they might kidnap you and like tie you to a tree and like throw rocks at you and shit. I was like, that's crazy. But then she was telling me that she was dead serious. Like her people really believe this. And then she was talking about there is modern day sexual encounters with the elves and the normal people that live on the island. So that she said there's people who go missing because they don't want to come back to Earth because the other place is so much more beautiful. And she describes the elves more like the Lord of the Rings type elves. Like they're very
The
clean
elvish.
cut,
Okay.
very, very clean cut and blue eyed, very blonde hair. And they're just very elegant, how they and graceful. Unless you fuck with them, I'm pretty sure they can do whatever they want. But no, and then she even talks about the mermaids because I figure if they have these interdimensional beings on this one island, why wouldn't it be a hot spot for other things that are coming out of the water,
Yeah, I
right?
think it'd be
Like,
kind of cool to buy Iceland for mermaids, but you never know what they would prefer.
yeah, no, and she said there's encounters of fishermen talking about mermaids
Wow.
in the area too. So it just made it sound like such a like a Disneyland type of place. I was like, whoa, this is gnarly. I kind of want to go to Iceland. I heard it's cheap.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a cool spot. I heard that there are actual elves in Wisconsin,
Oh,
specific to Wisconsin. I think they're called like duende or something, long-eared, long-nosed elves with like they look like they have homemade clothing on and they carry little sticks around and tools.
I thought it was the pug wedgie.
The
That's
pug
I
what
don't
I
know.
wedgie.
I heard that
You
you
know,
have
there,
little like 2 to 3 feet people there. I've heard
you know,
specific to Wisconsin.
huh.
the only story I've heard about that is about Harry Anderson and the Little People. And the story goes that it was 1919, and Harry Anderson was out for an automobile ride with his father, and this was in northwestern Wisconsin. Now, in 1919, you got to remember the automobiles, they were very, very primitive, and the roads, they were either horse and buggy paths or they were old logging roads, especially in that part of Wisconsin. So there's no paved highways like we have here now. So Harry and his dad, they were out for a ride one evening, and the car started running low on oil. So Harry's dad pulled the car off to the side of the road, and he handed Harry a can of oil, and he said, "Hey, go check with that farmer over the ridgeline to see if he can lend you some oil." So Harry, he goes down to the farm, knocks on the farmer's door. The farmer obliges, fills up his oil can, and while he's about halfway back, he hears a commotion. It sounds like a military procession coming down the path that he's following back to his dad. And he kind of gets scared and he jumps off trail and ducks behind a tree. And he hears what sounds like I said, a military procession. But when he looks up, it is a dwarfish platoon. It's 20 to 40 pale skinned, bald little men in lederhosen doing a military march. So he ducks behind and watches them proceed by. And then he kind of is dumbfounded, but eventually comes to and makes his way back to the car. And he told the story for years and never recanted it. So, what did Harry Anderson see that day on, a 1919 night in Wisconsin? We may never know, but it's one of the many weird stories that have been collected from Wisconsin history, and
Wow,
one that really
That was
captivated me.
that was pretty good, man. I
that's
never heard that
crazy.
one.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. I was just thinking about another one you probably are pretty good at knowing, or another story that you're pretty knowledgeable about is the Dog Man in South Wisconsin, isn't it?
Yeah,
Somewhere.
southeastern Wisconsin. So,
Yeah.
not too far from Milwaukee. So, Milwaukee being the largest city in Wisconsin, you just get west of Wisconsin, you get into, west of Milwaukee, you get to like Lake Geneva, where a lot of Chicago people come up um, to vacation. But just west of there is a little town of Elkhorn. Now, Elkhorn really gained popularity in, I believe it was the 1950s, when it was became known as the Christmas card town, because the Ford Motor Company of all companies picked Elkhorn to be the backdrop for Christmas postcards that year.
Huh.
So they sent one of the artists out there to do a sketch of Elkhorn at Christmas time, and then it's become a tradition where they'll have different artists come in and do like the official Elkhorn Christmas painting each year and release it as a postcard. But anyway, to put that aside, you have this um, kind of beautiful Anytown, USA, Christmas card town, USA. And then just on the skirts of town, you have these stories of this dog man creature dating back to the 1930s. And it is not like a werewolf where a man transforms into the wolf under the light of the full moon. This is an actual creature that is an upright walking canine type creature. And people have been seeing it. And Linda Godfrey, RIP Linda, she was great. She did a lot of investigation in the early 1990s into this phenomenon and actually kind of put it on the map. And they call that the Beast of Bray Road because it's been seen on Bray Road in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. So it's apparently still out there. I got a chance to camp out there a few years
Wow.
ago. There's a gentleman that lives on that land, and he's actually a hay farmer, and he's had many strange encounters. He's set up many trail cams and has captured, interesting light anomalies, lots of tracks. He's heard the animal. I don't think he's had a face-to-face encounter with it yet, but it's definitely a place of high strangeness. And I got to kind of go out there, well, actually with KJ, and walk the
Mm.
fields and look for the beast. Unfortunately, we came up empty that night, but it was still cool to actually go there, see Lee Hampel's farm, visit with him, see his evidence, and then walk the fields and kind of do our own investigation.
Wow. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
That's
is.
awesome.
I heard there's again multiple stories of seeing the dog man, and I think there was one famous case where this family or they were in their car and this thing just went right past their car. And there's
Yeah.
another case where another
Oh,
guy was in driving and he sees this thing just come up over the fence and start looking at
it's supposed to be
Yeah.
massive, right? Dogman's supposed to be
huge.
pretty big.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
Oh
It's supposed
God,
to
imagine
be,
hitting one with your
some
car.
say, yeah, up to 6 feet. One of them said that yeah, like you said, Dustin, they were driving down the road and this thing came up next to him and it was like keeping pace with them
Yeah.
and actually scratched claw marks into the
Oh,
deck lid or trunk of their car, which just seems terrifying. The
yeah.
to help most of our listeners, viewers, sleep well tonight is it doesn't seem to prey on humans. Um, there's no records. Hopefully, there won't be of it attacking humans. A lot of times, it's um, just taking roadkill. One of the things that Mr. Hampel talks about is before the DNR kind of outlawed it, he would pick up a roadkill deer and drag it to the edge of his field and put a camera trap on it. And if you watch the Small Town Monsters, Beast of Bray Road documentary on that, it actually shows some of that evidence that he captured where he would have the deer sitting there and then like the next frame it's gone without like
Whoa.
like he would have like the shots numbered on the trail cam and then something would like take it away. And then he's had other encounters when he would do this where he would kind of bait the traps where something would come along unseen and completely contort a deer carcass. And now these deer carcasses are probably like, 150 to 175 pounds. So, it takes a pretty large person to be able to manipulate that and to do it without getting caught by a camera trap seems,
Yeah.
pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend everybody watch that documentary. That was one of the first ones that he did in the Small Town Monsters series, and I think it's called The Bray Road Beast. And last time I checked, it was free on Amazon Prime.
Oh, cool. Well, I have to check that out. No,
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
dude, that's so crazy. And you're right. Like you don't find any cases of the dogman attacking humans, and you don't hear about Bigfoot ever attacking humans as much
Oh,
as Bigfoot has been seen. And like, yeah, you don't hear about someone getting smashed to
Yeah, like
oblivion.
you would think,
You know?
like an 8 or 9 foot tall, hairy humanoid could just rip
Yeah.
somebody limb from limb, but you
Yeah.
you really don't hear about that. I mean, you do hear about a lot of like the missing 411 stuff in national parks where um, people just go missing inexplicably, and a lot of people think, well, that's the work of Bigfoot or some kind of interdimensional creature. That's yet to be seen, but one can speculate.
Yeah. I
when
think the only
Bigfoot is approached, I feel like he runs away from people. I feel like Bigfoot seems docile to me.
Yeah, it seems like he just kind of he's a man of the woods and he just wants to kind of be left alone and
Yes,
just kind of a shy, hairy beast.
shy, very
Yeah.
shy.
or they could have been the first humans here, and we were getting plucked away by aliens being hybrided, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why they're so good at hiding, they can hide from
Yeah.
aliens. Shit.
For real.
Yeah.
No, there's a guy, what the hell's his name? Joe, I'm sorry, John Two Birds. And he's a Native American who actually had his own personal experience with Billy Meyer, but he has another side story of Sasquatch, and he has like his own personal experience. This is more down in Arizona area,
Hmm.
and no, it's this very interesting story. Is that he was talking to how you can look for Bigfoot on your own, and there's certain things you should look for. Like if you go to a certain place, you'd have people look at all the trees and like count them, look at them, get a good like mental picture of what you're going to count. Cause I'm going to take you back here the next day, and you take people back the next day, and there'd be certain trees that would be gone, or like certain things that would be missing that people recall or were there the first day they were there. And he was just describing that Bigfoot can like almost transform itself into whatever it is because they're always watching you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They're always kind of like they can blend. And there's stories too where like a guy got really close to it and he had a gun and he shot at it and it turned to dust. It's like okay. And then there's like ones where there's lights in the sky after seeing Bigfoot.
Yeah, a
Oh,
lot of times, Timothy Renner of Strange Familiars podcast, he calls a lot of these historical Bigfoot accounts, he calls them weird washed because a lot of times they'll just talk about like a flesh and blood creature, big feet, hairy, bad smell. But then a lot of times the experiencers will um, they'll recall like something happening paranormal like the same night or the next day, for strange lights in their houses or seeing some kind of craft. And there was a story about like a spacecraft being um, tied to the Beast of Bray Road phenomenon, where Lee Hampel actually captured a picture of kind of a light anomaly above his field with what looked like a shape of like a dog man, which was really interesting to kind of see that. So if you ever get a chance to get down there to his farm and maybe you guys can exchange slideshows with your Wendell Stevens stuff, and he could show you, what he's captured. I think that might be kind of a neat
that'd be cool.
meeting of the minds. And then speaking of Bigfoot, so talking about Milwaukee being, so populated, but just getting, west of Milwaukee, there's a place called the Kettle Moraine, and it's a natural preserve. And there's another gentleman by the name of Jay Bachochin who does a lot of Bigfoot expeditions just outside of, right near Elkhorn. And he's captured some kind of interesting evidence. And he's put together two documentaries called Finding Jay that you can see kind of his methodology
Oh yeah. Hmm.
and what he's captured, and he's still very actively searching for Bigfoot in the Kettle Moraine, which overlaps with the Dogman stuff. So a lot of high strangeness right in that area of Wisconsin.
Yeah. And another place too is Burlington, Wisconsin has a lot of weird phenomenon with having, again, I think they have their land pyramids there too, with tons of mounds that are shaped like pyramids.
Yeah, so
And they had,
Burlington is right in that section. It's like Elkhorn, Lake
mhm,
Geneva,
yeah.
Burlington, and another funny kind of thing. We talked about the Christmas card town in Elkhorn, and then Burlington is known as Chocolate City, USA, because they have a Nestle chocolate factory right there. So
Hmm.
they do a lot
Oh,
of, and then there's just a lot of high strangeness about a specific woods there. And Chrissy asking earlier about the elves. Apparently, there are fairy encounters in this enchanted woods, and some people even saying that Bigfoot might frequent that woods. And I had a friend go there, and he actually said that he or encountered these trees that were kind of twisted. And one of the main things about that woods is that there's some kind of swirling energy vortex there, and that a lot of people will walk in there and they will be disoriented, or if they have a camera, they will be holding the camera still and taking a shot, at eye level or shoulder level, and it will be developed or come back on their viewfinder as swirling or seeing like different lights. So they call that woods the Burlington Vortex. So another area of high strangeness right there in southeastern Wisconsin. Yeah, southeastern Wisconsin.
Jeff, you said that you had camped out by Bray Road. Is this common for you to seek
I do
investigations?
whenever I get a chance to. I try to do it. Only unfortunately, it's only like once or twice a year. I got two small kids right now. They're 5 and 7, so they're growing quickly, and hopefully I can rope one or two of them into these expeditions before too long. But yeah, so I've camped out on Bray Road. It's actually a friend grew up right near Lee Hample's farm there, and he ended up having a birthday party. So everybody kind of had a kegger and camped out there, and we did some investigating there. And then whenever I get a chance to sleep at a haunted location or go camping in a haunted place, I definitely will take advantage of that.
Amazing. I know
Yeah.
how it is with a young child to try to get these investigations going and stuff because it gets so busy, with
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's something every weekend now with these kids. So
right.
as soon as I can kind of get them into my orbit and be like, all right, we're going Bigfoot hunting, or we're
Well,
gonna go
it
ghost
sounds like
hunting.
your
Yeah.
daughter is very interested in the paranormal.
She is a little she's very interested in legends and the storytelling that I um pass on to her. I wrote a book called Wisconsin Legends for Kids, and I dedicated it to both her. On our walks to school every morning, we would recount all of these crazy stories, whether it was the Joe Simonton. I know that's one of the Pancakes from Space. I know that's one of
I
Dustin's
love that one. My
Yes,
favorites.
favorite.
Dustin's
I put
favorite.
Oh my God.
I put that in there, and I just tell her these different stories, and she's like, "Dad, when are you gonna write this in a book?" And she's 6, and she was expecting me to take some like loose leaf paper or something like that and kind of write them out, maybe do like some crude illustrations. But I got a little more fancy than that, and I fired up the old Kindle KDP publishing and some Canva, and was able to throw a book together for her, and published it called Wisconsin Legends for Kids, and you can find it on Amazon. And she got a real kick out of it, and everybody who I've has reported back to me, the kids just loved it. So it's just kind of my way of giving back this kind of wonderment, the wonderment I was captured at a young age with, and kind of pass that along to the next generation and have them kind of say, okay, well, we hear about, you know, all of these big stories, whether they happen in like New York City, New England, Hollywood area, the desert of, the Southwest. But, to look in your own backyard and find these weird stories and go investigate them for yourself. And one of those was also the Burlington Woods was in there, and Rocky, the Rock Lake Monster,
Mhm.
of the Sunken Pyramid. So I covered quite a few of the stories that were at least child appropriate, because there are a lot of scarier legends in Wisconsin. So having being able to kind of filter through and find the ones that are more kid friendly was really fun.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, I adore that. And to be honest with you, Jeff, my son would probably love your book. My son is so curious about the paranormal. He loves the ghost stuff. He loves skinwalkers. He
Yeah,
would probably love your book.
I'm sure.
And
I
if
I'm
he'd
think
sure he
want to
you
would.
visit
I think you
Wisconsin,
might have grabbed that one, Chrissy, for your kid
I
for sure.
know.
It's really
Definitely.
good. The
Yeah.
illustrations are really dope on it too, by the way.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was it
yeah.
was fun to put together.
Mhm. And no, I wish I could write a book. It's very tedious. Even I can imagine a kid book being tedious because you want to make it perfect too.
Yeah, because I had to dabble. I'm not a visual artist by any means. So the writing part was pretty easy, but just formatting everything, finding the complementary pictures and everything, and kind of weaving a narrative through it was a lot of fun, and it was a bit tedious, but I'm glad I did it.
That's so dope. And you just not have a book. You have merchandise too. You got t-shirts and
That's right.
sweatshirts.
You
I'm kind of jealous of that because I kind of want that too for my.
got to step up your swag game.
I know, man. It's like, shit. And me and Jeff we host gatherings together here in Madison for people who are interested in the paranormal, and just we kind of network with each other, network with new people that are in the same field, or just like-minded people who are just interested in the subject, that want to get to know us. And yeah, it's really cool. It's just we go to the Gamma Ray, and that's a alien theme bar. It's really cool.
Right, downtown Madison, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot of great venues for that, and we got to get another one on the books here, Dustin.
we do. We're slacking here. Where's
Gotta,
Tim?
we gotta
Fuck.
get Timmy in gear here.
um, yeah, dude. I'm trying to think. Was the last? I was gonna. I had another story from Matt, or from Wisconsin here. Or actually, me and Chrissy were gonna talk about here in the future. An episode about some crimes and serial
Yeah.
killers in Wisconsin. Is this
Oh
another
my God. I'm like,
another
Yeah,
what's in
road?
the water over there? Jeffrey
Yeah,
Dahmer,
Jeffrey
Dean.
Dahmer,
Ed
Ed
Gein, yeah.
Gein, and then we have was it the Baraboo Bone Breaker? You heard of that guy?
I haven't
No,
heard of that guy. We got to talk about that guy.
Oh my
I need to
God,
look into that one.
dude, this kid from the 80s, but he was like maybe 80s or late 90s, or I'm sorry, early 90s. But yeah, he would kidnap people, and he had a fascination of breaking people's bones, and just hearing them snap just got
Oh
him like all
God.
got him all high and shit. So yeah, he would kidnap people and strap them up to a bed and take a baseball bat and just just
Yeah,
going gnarly on them,
Horrible.
yeah,
and then end up killing people, obviously. But he just torture them with the baseball bat, and he's
yeah.
just known as the Baraboo Bone Breaker.
Okay, I have to look into that one. I dabble into the true crime stuff. Usually, I'm more into like the ghost, Bigfoots,
Yeah.
UFO
Oh yeah,
kind of
we are.
stuff. But
Yeah.
I did do a presentation on the Mad City murders, which
Mm.
happened from 1968 until the late 70s, right here in Madison, Wisconsin,
Wow.
Dustin's hometown, where up to seven co-eds were actually abducted and murdered. One was actually murdered in like at midnight right outside of Camp Randall Stadium. She was probably
Whoa.
one of the only ones that didn't get abducted. So she might have been not been tied into the original one there, but um, yeah, very interesting to have. Such a peaceful town. You think
Yes.
Madison, Wisconsin. It's party town. It's campus. A small town. Not a lot of crime, but to have seven young co-eds um, get murdered and their crimes go unsolved.
Yeah,
still to this
that's
day.
not
It
a
seems like
Wow.
they've have a pretty good handle on who it might be, but as far as formally charging anyone, never happened.
yeah. No, another this one just came to me. I wanted to go here in Middleton, that spot where the UFO hotspot in Middleton.
Yeah, Fredericks Hill.
Thank you. I didn't know what it was.
It's
Yeah, tell me more about this because
yeah, so
it's
that's
not far from me.
part of the Pheasant Branch Conservancy. So, one nice thing about living in Madison is there's a lot of dedicated conservation lands, a lot of county parks in Dane County, and a lot of the lake shore has been protected. So, a lot of opportunities for people to go out and have a hike. And one place that we really like is called Fredericks Hill, and that's part of the Pheasant Branch Conservancy. And the legend around that hill is that it was built on the dead. Now, it's true there are effigy mounds there. There are burial mounds there that kind of um, the the path up that hill kind of winds around, and there are burial mounds kind of scattered around that, and it just seems like a place that is ripe for a UFO sighting. We've taken several expeditions out there. Unfortunately, we haven't captured anything than a Starlight launch was, which was really cool, or Starlink launch, I should say.
Mhm.
Um, those kind of came up while we were on our hike, and we're like, "What are those?" And they were like, "Oh, it's Starlink." Oh, too
Mm.
bad. We were hoping it was a
Right?
UFO, but it seems prime for some stargazing, some UFO watching. So, um, with all the other UFO and drone sightings, it might be time to get back out there, maybe on one of these warmer winter nights, and kind of go for a hike.
Yeah, I like to go with you sometime.
Yeah, definitely have to do another meetup around that.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to get on Tim about the next gathering here because I think we're kind of discussing it and it kind of went. "Meow, meow."
Yep.
It's like, well, let's
Everybody's been
bring it up
busy.
again. What the fuck? No, because
I'm
I,
so jealous that you guys get to hang out with each other. So
hey,
jealous.
Chrissy, get your ass over here. Come hang out with us. We'll show you a good time. No, and then KJ would be another one too. You girls would
Yes,
just
KJ
click.
seems awesome. Yeah, she
We'll have
seems
her
really
back on here.
cool.
Actually, Jeff, I'd like to have you and her on here. We can have
Yeah,
like a
that'd be
little
fun.
foursome talk here.
That would be cool.
No, because she knows a lot of. She does the ghost tours here in Madison. She
Yeah,
does
she does a
such
lot
a
of.
great job.
I haven't been able to make it to one of hers. Unfortunately, it's kind of embarrassing that uh, Madison has three ghost walks, and I've only been on one. And my good friend and co-host of the Wisconsin Legends podcast actually runs the tour. So I I really need to maybe once fall gets fired up, I'll have to hit all three of his and also KJ's on top of that.
Yeah, yeah. We'll have to have Chrissy fly her ass over here. You got a place to
I
stay.
gotta, I got it. When it's warmer, Wisconsin
Uh,
Yes.
supposedly is worse than New York in the winter.
Well, not this winter.
yeah, it's been
No, this
very
winter we have it worse than you.
yes,
Yeah.
very mild this winter. Not a lot of
Yeah,
snow, a lot, a few cool days. But Wisconsin in the fall, there's nothing better than
Oh,
Wisconsin
it's
in the fall.
beautiful. Yeah, the trees are just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I can't wait to have you back on. This is gonna
oh
be
my God,
so
he's so
awesome. Isn't
knowledgeable.
he?
Oh my
Oh God.
Yeah.
He
God,
was just I
Thanks, guys.
amazing.
oh, you are,
Yeah.
dude. I'm very again,
Yeah,
very honored to have you on here because
yeah,
Yeah.
this
And
is
I look
great.
up to you and the others that are in the field, especially Wisconsin related, because I'm all about Wisconsin and I think it's so important for people to know. And the fact that like the first UFO organization started in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, back
yeah.
in the 50s with Cora Lorenzen and her husband
Yep.
Robert
APRO. Yep.
at the
APRO.
APRO. Right.
Yeah.
So that means that this says so much right there, right? That we have some shit.
Well, and Mr. Or Doctor rather, J. Allen Hynek, he worked
Yeah.
right there out of the Yerkes Observatory. He was um, he was one of the gentlemen called up to go collect that space pancake up there on
Ah,
Simonton's farm. So he got to meet Joe Simonton, and
oh yeah.
so there are a ton of links of ufology going through Wisconsin. Don Schmidt, we've been talking about him in the chat, and
There it
he
is.
he, he did the
So
Roswell. He did the Roswell book that was turned into a movie in the early 90s, and he was a native of Milwaukee. So many ufological connections to Wisconsin. It's quite incredible. So we're kind of blessed, at least the people that love the weird, whether it's
Yeah,
ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoots, cryptids, true crime. Of course, you mentioned
yeah, yeah. You got it all over
Dahmer
there
and
in
Geen are
Wisconsin.
on the Rushmore of creepy killers.
Yeah, yeah. And then Ed Gein spending his last days here in Madison, so that's
Yep,
pretty
right at
cool.
Mendota.
Hmm.
Yes, and
Yeah, and I go visit Chris Farley's grave once in a while too.
I haven't made it out to
You ever met
Farley's
it?
grave.
Oh
No.
yeah, it's above
Yep,
ground burial.
yep, it's in that little mausoleum, right? Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
have to.
Hmm.
Yeah, I will have to do a cemetery tour of Madison as well.
That'd
But
be
yeah, there's
dope.
so much history in Madison, whether it's early settler history, guys like Chris Farley, all the way back to all the mound builders. It's just incredible.
Yeah. No, it is. Hey, can you let our audience know where they can find you and where they can find your merchandise, where you can find your book, and
Yeah, definitely. Best way to connect with me is at Badgerland Legends on Instagram, at Badgerland Legends on Facebook as well. The Wisconsin Legends group on Facebook is one that me and Dustin are both members of. Dustin's always posting in there,
yeah,
definitely excerpts from this show. And Wisconsin Legends for Kids on Amazon is available now. So go check it out. I really appreciate your time tonight and your hospitality, guys.
yeah,
It was a great time.
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is super dope. We're gonna have you back on for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
Yeah, because there's so much more. We just hit the surface, I feel like.
Yeah,
really.
so
Yeah, he knows so much.
if you pull up my Instagram account, you'll see that I have like 1,200 posts on there. Probably 8 to 900 of those are all original legends. So
Yeah,
uh, definitely try to find a legend from every nook and cranny of the Badger State, and just kind of bring it to a new audience. And it's been a fun project.
that's
And then
fucking dope.
also Wisconsin Legends podcast if you want the deep dive. So uh, Instagram's great because most of us have short attention spans, and you can read something in 500 words or watch a quick reel on something. But if you want deep dives into a lot of this stuff, we did a two-part series on Wisconsin UFOs for the Wisconsin Legends podcast.
Oh,
We did
cool.
Dahmer, we did Geen, we did Devil's Lake, we did Hotel Hell. Um, I can't even remember Haunchyville. There's so many. I think we did about 15 episodes there, all evergreen stuff, kind of deep dives into the strange and usual from Wisconsin. And hopefully someday when me and Mike have more time, we can fire that project back up. But for now, I think it's a great repository for a lot of this stuff in longer format.
That's dope. Well, shit, man. That was again. I'm very honored to have you on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Thanks so much for having me.
yeah, dude. Hey, can you stay with me for 2 more minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.